Check, check. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, squeaky chair. Welcome to a backlit do-over, because the sun is bright and there's nothing I can do about it at this point in time. The do-over because I attempted to do something the other day, and here's what I did. If you saw the video from a day or two ago, I sat down and thought, oh, here's a project that I need to work on. I can record that, and since I'm not really trying to do the project very well, the focus isn't on that, I'll just talk over it and do a personal vlog while I'm doing it. Well, here's the problem with that. My focus can't be split between my own brain between two different things, and instead I wind up doing half of one and half of the other. And as someone famous once said, never half-ass two things, full-ass one thing. So if you take away the ability to talk coherently and try to do a personal vlog and talk about what I've been up to lately, then you just have poor footage of me attempting to fix a mouse for an hour and a half. That's not great. So I should have either done one or the other. So we're going to fix what I can. I'm not going to refix the mouse a second time and shoot it in a way that I can actually show what's being done, because that would be a hassle, and the mouse is now fixed. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to do the personal vlog over again. So if you watched that and thought, he's talking about the same things. Yeah, it's like 2 days later. So I've brought notes. I'm actually looking through all of these things so I would have coherency. Lesson learned. Focus on one thing at a time if it's important to you. Record vlog, then work on mouse. I can still make it one video, but take two different sections. Do one where I'm just doing this, then do one where I'm working on the mouse. Don't try to combine them. It's not going to work that well, unless you aren't talking about things that are important. In which case, what are you doing? But I'm glad to have the mouse back. I actually just need to finish fixing it as far as the feet go on the bottom. I don't know if you can actually see that, but I had to get to the screws, peel up the little rubber feet on the bottom, so I've had to order those. But the mouse works again. I'm very happy about that. And now I'll probably go back and start playing Path of Exile, because it's time for that again, apparently. And that was the mouse that I got to play Path of Exile, and it makes me want to do it. It's also going to be super useful because I think I can program macros to all the side buttons, and that'll be helpful when it comes to editing, which is what I've been working on so far today. I also would really like, let me just tell you, kind of wish list of if I had the money. It's like $600, but an editing keyboard, one made by the same company that makes the editing software that I use, so macros are already built into it for all the various functions. It's specifically laid out, and the shortcuts that are already built into it work. But the most important thing, and that's why it's tough, like, the way that they have it here, I don't know how best to describe it if you haven't seen something like this. If you can imagine a hockey puck with a little divot in it for your finger to go on it, and then you spin it around. I've used them before on lighting consoles, and they have built-in functionality for things like that, because it's super useful to fine-tune whenever you're trying to scroll through, or like one of those comes built into it. I also think that they make something that's a little bit cheaper that's just those couple wheels in order to do that. I could be misremembering that, but either way, if I'm going to get one, I'd like to get the keyboard and the whole thing, hopefully. But again, $600 for a keyboard that just kind of adds some functionality to my existing keyboard and makes me slightly faster at the thing that I don't like. I've now been editing since 5:30, and it is 10:15, so it's almost been 5 hours in order to edit the last few things with some breaks, because I can't, it's just so much. But that's what I've been doing today, was editing, and I knew I wanted to re-record that stuff from the other day, try to get that done. I'm not even done editing, because I haven't actually edited anything from everything that I record. I'm pointing in a way like you can't see, but to my closet where I set up and recorded a personal vlog / fixing of the mouse. So I still have that to do, and now I will have this to do. And I'd like to get all that done today so I can be once again caught up on all of my editing. Because I don't like to have too much of a backlog, because it feels like too much to do. Now, because this will take more effort to do, the AC has kicked on, and I hope that doesn't cause an issue. It shouldn't, because I've got the ability to I can do noise suppression in the editing software, but that did distract me for a minute, so good job there. I also discovered, while recording this, see, the last time I went out, I took pictures, and now I come back and I review the pictures that I took, and I sit up a little straighter to fill the frame a bit more. When I'm doing that and I screen record through the webcam and through a microphone setup with all that, first of all, I discovered this is a different microphone from what I have been using, because my other microphone, as it turned out, sounded like garbage. Not a fan of that, but it was a cheap microphone, so I can't really say that I'm too surprised. That's just an old, I don't think this is technically an SM58. It's just it's what I have. I have an extra microphone, so I don't have to borrow from this set over there or anything like that. I'd like to get a new microphone at some point for this, but it's lower priority. I don't do it all that often. I went to record all of that, and I did a first take, probably 5-10 minutes worth, looking over all the photos that I took. Got done, went to put it in there, and realized I'd recorded in the wrong settings. And quite honestly, it was easier, rather than trying to re-encode it under a different codec and a different format so that I can edit it. I could just have downloaded a program, run it through something like that, and converted it into something I could use. And then I thought, well, I wasn't really happy with the first one anyway, so another take. But it did mean that what I screen recorded for the other video, completely useless. Which is fine, because I wasn't super happy with it anyway. I was just trying to do it. I tried to capture me using the other mouse, and it wasn't doing it anyway, and now I realize none of that footage is going to matter. So that was a fun thing. But the reason I have my settings changed is because I had to completely rework my PC. My editing computer had some difficulty. And it had some difficulty, as it turns out, due to some bad RAM. The RAM went bad. I didn't know RAM could go bad like that. I guess all computer parts die eventually, but they just stopped functioning. And I think it's actually 2 sticks that stopped functioning. And I don't think that's affecting anything. I'm having some hiccups. I'm definitely having some issues editing this morning. That was my own fault for 2 different reasons. The first one was, great, let me transfer everything. And the video I recorded was an hour and a half from 2 phones. And phones are notoriously bad at storing and moving data for me, especially large files that I try to do. So I set up the whole thing to record, and then I realized, oh, I'm grabbing the wrong ones. I'm grabbing from a month ago when I sat down and sorted magic cards and recorded through my phones, because that's a quick and dirty way to just throw it together, and it should be good enough. It wasn't. The last video sucked. It was completely out of focus, and I wasn't paying attention to where my hands were, so you couldn't really see the cards that I was, again, half-assing 2 things. Anyway, so I started that, and then I realized, oh, I'm grabbing the videos from a month ago, and I need to be grabbing the ones from 2 days ago. So I canceled that, and that corrupted the files, which corrupted the folder, which meant that I had to restart my computer 5 times, and every time I kept booting it up to go delete those files so I could start over, it kept crashing and wouldn't do anything, and Windows Explorer just kept failing, and doing it, and then I had to figure out how to boot into safe mode. It took about, 1 of the 5 hours today has just been troubleshooting the computer, which is better than 2 or 3 weeks ago when I spent the entire Saturday troubleshooting the computer, because I just kept getting blue screens while I was trying to edit. That was the RAM failing, but I didn't know it was the RAM failing until towards the end of the day, after I had fully reset everything, gone through all the things. I kept getting driver errors, so I reset all the drivers. I had to go through all this troubleshooting stuff. It was a whole thing. I mean, it really took a very long time. And I kept getting it to the point where the monitors would go out. So I thought, graphics card, not the graphics card. The graphics card, by far, anything else that I put into this thing was cheaper. That one piece, that one graphics card was more expensive than everything else, and I still bought it used, and it was $1,000, because graphics cards are insane. But I have to have something that powerful in order to edit what I need to edit. Do not go to sleep, monitors. I want to be able to make sure that this thing is going to process properly, and okay, good. Anyway, it took a long time. It took a lot of troubleshooting. Eventually, I managed to figure out it was the RAM. That's kind of my own fault, too, that I didn't realize it sooner, because I didn't think I've got one motherboard that has error codes on it. To get into the nitty gritty of it, it's got a little display, a readout that will show you an error code so that you can diagnose it further. This motherboard doesn't have that, but it does have something, which I didn't realize until the end. It's got little status lights to show you if there is an error, and the RAM status light was popping up because the RAM went bad. But it also, I think, got progressively worse as I was troubleshooting, because it got to the point where I got into Windows and would blue screen very quickly, as opposed to got into Windows, let's edit some, an hour into editing, and I'd get a blue screen. And it just got progressively worse and worse. But I took out 2 sticks of RAM and it's working. I tried 3 sticks and it didn't work. So I think I actually have 2 sticks that are dead. Thankfully, when I built this thing originally, I knew that I wanted to soup up RAM because it was kind of cheaper than everything else. So I paid the extra and got 128 gigs of RAM, which is definitely overkill. I'm doing okay with 64. I'm getting some hiccuping. That was today. The Windows file issue is my own fault. That's not on the RAM. That was just me trying to pause what I know is a large file. It would have been faster, instead of spending an hour troubleshooting to kill that file that corrupted as I was transferring it. It would have been faster to just let it go, let it transfer everything, and then come back and go delete a full file instead of trying to pause it halfway through and the whole thing breaking. So I will still have to transfer all of my footage from my 2 phones back to this and get all to the editing. But I got time to do that later today. Anyway, that's been a fun. I think I just started saying what I was having trouble with. It's been hiccuping today while I was trying to do that. So I'm looking forward to getting the full RAM back in there. I actually need to test to make sure. The thing I'm not 100% sure on is it the slots for the RAM on the motherboard, or is it the RAM itself? And I have another computer, but whenever I think about, it's finally time for me to do some troubleshooting and play RAM in and out, it's like during work. And I go, well, for one thing, I can't just stop working. And for another thing, I can't just turn off this computer and start swapping things out. But that's when I think about it and go, oh yeah, I need to do that. We'll see. Anyway. That's been computer troubles, which meant that through the process of doing all that and pulling the graphics card, I had to do what I was really trying not to do and wipe the entire computer, which caused me to completely reset everything, like just a full from scratch. And I haven't done that since I built it, so it's been 3+ years of all of my macros and all of my saves and all of my settings and just a wipe of everything. And I tried to save everything that I could, but I didn't think to back up all of the settings for different apps. I backed up all of my files, that like my data stuff. So I lost all of that and I've had to start over, and that's caused some hiccups, like trying to record through OBS and not having proper settings. So I did that, and then we're just going to catch up on a few things that I've been up to. On Saturday, when I talked about in that video, I was working on making pizza and bread, because I'd made the dough, and then I went and recorded, and I was playing games here and there and doing that, and the pizza took a while. The pizza was in the fridge for not quite 12 hours, and I was not thinking that it was going to be good. We've changed altitudes significantly, and I had okay luck with pizza, but really good bread back in Fraser, much higher up, almost 9,000 feet. And down here is much lower, like Denver, I think, is 5,000. So we dropped significantly. However, the bread turned out pretty good. The pizza, I was not thinking it was going to be very good. I got it going, I got the whole thing, I put it in the fridge, and then I pulled it out of the fridge, and I went, uh-oh, what am I having for dinner now then if I'm not having pizza? Because it was hard as a rock. And I thought it had frozen, but it just sat in the fridge. And I left it out for close to 2 hours before it was time to make it, and it actually did come together and made pizza dough balls and everything. And then the newest thing that I was able to try out, we had a pizza stone. When we moved, one of the things that I went, this is on the list of when we have money, which during the move we did have money and we were able to spend it. I got a pizza stone. Never been able to use that before. And this oven goes to 550, which is higher than any other oven I've used. That definitely maxes out, but that's what you want when you're making fresh pizza dough, homemade with the whole thing. That was the best pizza I have ever made. Hands down. Just that immediately soared to the top. The crust did exactly what I wanted it to. I didn't have a separation between the crust and my sauce, which is what I started. I've been now hand-making pizza doughs for many years. The first time I did it, my roommate at the time was like, let's make pizza. And it was okay. It was pizza, but it wasn't very good. As a matter of fact, I think I may have a photo of that and then a photo of this newest batch, and we'll show you for comparison. Just so much better, and I'm looking forward to the fact that this was just the first one out of here now that I have the pizza stone and I've got a good solid pizza dough recipe adjusted for altitude and everything. Very happy. And the bread was good. We had sandwiches yesterday for lunch with the homemade bread that I made. Excellent. So I did that. Okay. This past week, I did not go anywhere this weekend as far as going out, doing anything, or really recording besides an attempt at fixing a mouse and making a vlog. And now this will be the only two things that I recorded the entire weekend. Typically, I try to cram in as much as I can between recording over there, recording going outside, the entire thing. But I took a break. And one, I was still recovering from kind of feeling under the weather, but not sick intentionally a little bit. Vaccinated this past week. It was the time for it. They finally rolled out the program to those of us who don't have health insurance, and so was able to get the flu shot, was able to get the latest COVID booster. Boom, done, done. What didn't happen was my significant other wasn't able to get either of those. Well, I don't have health insurance, and so I was able to just go, I don't have health insurance, and they go, great, well, you're part of the government-wide program that, the countrywide program rolled out by the government for still getting free vaccinations for COVID because it's extremely important, and to being able to just offer it to everyone, whether they have health insurance or not. However, my significant other has health insurance, and apparently health insurance can now dictate where you go get the COVID booster. And can say, not just says we won't cover it there, but like they said, we won't cover it at any location that isn't our own, which is crap. And they was like, all right, well, how much is it to pay out of pocket? Let's just try to do it because we've got the appointment. It would be easier to do it. We are legally not allowed to charge you for this vaccine because the government says it has to be free. So she just couldn't get it at all and had to reschedule for a month out because that's the soonest they have available at one of their locations, which is crap. But I was the only one who got it. And the funny thing happened while I was getting it. The pharmacist calls me into the little room, and I go in and I do that. And this is now multiple vaccinations that I've gotten at this point. I know the routine. Go in, hi, how are you? Typical things like that, stuff like that. She goes, all right, roll up your sleeve. And I roll up my sleeve, and immediately, I know what to do. I roll up my sleeve and drop my arm and let it go limp. And she goes, yes, exactly right. I was like, yeah. Not my first rodeo. I've done it that way, and I did it wrong at one point. And I start telling her this story of one of the times that I got it back in Wyoming. The lady specifically explained, I think it was the second one that I got. I have always had a fear of needles. I can't look, I can't watch, I don't like the pinch, I don't like pain at all. And so I specifically can't watch them doing that. I don't think I would faint. I know that some people have that to the point where it'll affect them if they see a needle and things like that, or if they see blood being drawn, they'll faint. I don't think mine is quite that bad, but I'm not sitting there going, ooh, let me watch. No, I do look away and I pay attention. And so the first time I didn't do that, and they just told me, relax your arm, and so I did. But the second time, the lady actually explained, relax your arm, because if you flex, it's going to make the muscles much more sore, and you're going to have a much worse after effect after this. And I went, oh, that's why my arm hurts so much. I must have been flexing last time. And then she starts doing it, and she slaps my arm and goes, you're flexing. And I go, I'm not. Because I was just tense. Needles. I wasn't specifically trying to flex the muscles in my arm. So I'm telling this to the pharmacist this past week, and I'm telling her something like that, and she cuts in when I'm telling the lady, oh, I'm not doing it. She cuts in and goes, I'm not, I'm just ripped. And that was so unexpected to me because I do not consider myself that way in any way, shape, or form that I spit in my mask. I did a, exhalation of, this is so preposterous, and just spit and all over, and the whole thing. I was completely embarrassed and then just started stuttering and went, okay, moving on. Anyway, and shifted the topic of conversation to the previous times that I'd been vaccinated and continued telling that story as it was, and then explained one of the times was in a parking lot with, which sounds real sketchier than it was, but they rented out the stadium back in Wyoming and they used their parking lot there so that people could just drive up and get vaccinated and drive off. And so there were hundreds of people, and that was actually one of the easiest ones, didn't even have to get out of the car. But anyway, yeah, super embarrassed. Wasn't expecting that. I am now lifting weights more regularly to try, specifically started it, and to try and be stronger when I am just going out to carry cameras around because it hurts otherwise, and I'm tired of that. So yeah, I talked about that. That's been an ongoing thing for a while now. But just because there is a muscle there, I would most certainly not say ripped by any stretch of the imagination. I think she was being nice. Let's see. I've been reading a book. I talked about it there, but I'll talk about it here first. I will talk about it here now because I actually have more information. I started a new book. I've been enjoying it so far. It's apparently the first in a series, so I'll probably read them all. It's called Seven Blades in Black, Grave of Empires, Book 1, by Sam Sykes. I think I actually got the author right when I was talking through that, but in a much shorter version here. Yeah, great book so far. I've been having fun with it. It's cool. It's slightly different from what I usually read, and it's good. Don't know who recommended it to me. Someone did, because I've been doing a thing for a while now. When someone recommends a book or a thing or whatever, I go and write it down instead of just going, I'll definitely check that out, and then forgetting entirely after that conversation is over. I'll stop in the middle of the conversation, take a note of it, add it to a wish list or whatever it is, and then eventually pick it up. I picked it up, and now I'm finally reading through it. It's been fun. That's what I've been reading lately. Also, Calvin and Hobbes. That's great. I already had the collection on my tablet, and so I've just been reading through that. I haven't read that in a long time, and it's only slightly depressing how very accurate things used to be. Is that a fly? How accurate things used to be. No. How accurately he was able to depict the problems that were happening in the 80s, the early 80s, and then 40 plus years later are now much worse. I've been watching TV. I always talk about the shows that I've been watching. I watched all of Peaky Blinders. Great show. Fantastic. Having fun with that. That was fantastic. I had seen I'd seen almost all of it, but it was like as soon as the 5th season was airing is when I picked up and went, what is this show? I've heard about it. Let me watch this. Watched all the way through that, and then they did one last season, and I never got it until just now, so I watched all of that. Oh, so good. Apparently they're making a movie for the last part of it, and I'm very excited for that. That was fantastic. Currently airing is Ahsoka. I've been watching that week to week. Sometimes I forget that it's Tuesday night because I feel like all the other Star Wars shows came out on Wednesday. For some reason, it's ingrained as Wednesday is Star Wars. So I forget on Tuesday and then remember like Wednesday morning and go, okay, guess I'm watching that tonight then. So I've been watching that. That's been fantastic. The Disney Star Wars stuff has just been on another level. I've talked about it before, especially Mandalorian. So good. Let's see. I've been watching that. Oh, Futurama had another season. I watched all of that. And then I just started on, so I finished Peaky Blinders on Friday, I think, and so Saturday, or maybe Thursday and Friday, I don't remember what the days were, but over the last day or so, I started Battlestar Galactica. And that kind of ties me into the fact that, one, I started it because fantastic show. Apparently it was like one of the top shows at some point over the last few years. I thought I should watch all the like classics, or like the things that took it to a new level, the ones that are, people really go, this elevated TV or something, it did something to, I guess, the medium or whatever. Things that people hold in like the toppest ranks of whatever it was. I don't know. The Wire was one of them, Sopranos, things that I'd heard about and never watched. They were either before my time or we didn't have TV or whatever the case may be. But apparently among those was Battlestar Galactica. I didn't realize that until I pulled up the wiki the other day. I watched some of it, but I've never seen all of it. At the time that I was watching it, I was a teenager. We did not have the TV channel that it came in on. But what would happen is we would be able to go over to my mom's boyfriend's house or their place, their apartment, who would then buy the episodes on iTunes and let me watch them then. He would rewatch them a second time. I don't remember if it was the day after or whatever, but that meant that he was paying for every episode. And there were some, I think in the 4th season especially, where he went, I just didn't like that. I'm not paying for that. So then I didn't get to see it. So apparently I missed nothing. We'll see. I'm looking forward to finally being able to see some of the gaps and piece it together. I've watched now the mini-series that came out in 2003 before the show officially started in 2004. And I obviously watched that miniseries before because I definitely recognize stuff from it. But you're talking about a full 20 years ago. It's 2023. It has been 20 years since I've seen this. But man, what a great show. Really enjoying that so far. And it's tied in. The reason I'm going into like space and spaceships and the whole thing is because of the video game that I'm playing right now. Starfield has come out. And Starfield is just fantastic. It's pretty much taken over about the only game I play except for when I'm riding the bike. Really just all in on it. It is so good. If you like a Bethesda game, it's Bethesda in space. That's all I have to say. It's just that. And if you don't, Bethesda makes kind of polarizing games. You either like it or you don't. So if you like it, by all means, you're going to like this. Oh, it's so good. I've been really enjoying that. Having a great time with it. I'm itching to get back to it today, but I want to get through some of this stuff. I started 2 new series over the last month. I don't think one of them has come out yet. No, Pokemon is definitely out. I started recording that. I got all that done. I did set up a little mini goal of to capture all the ones that I was missing in order to complete the Pokedex. I got through all of that, and then like the week after I finished that, they released more. So I went ahead and did a follow-up video already for when that series is done in like December that just says, so there's more coming, and I'm going to continue playing Pokemon forever, apparently. And then the second one is a more wildlife-focused one. I don't know if that one's out yet. That was another idea that I had. I'm really coming into a lot of different ideas and things. If you paid a couple of months ago, maybe it was May, I don't remember, or June or July, one of those summer months. I made an idea. I made a video going, here are some changes that are happening. Here are things that I want to talk about. Here are things that are not. One of them was having the idea to, when I go out and just walk around, I'm pointing to the computer like you could actually see the screen, but you can't. It's currently rendering the videos that I've been titling Come Along. Apparently in my head it just makes sense to give things that are going to be not just a one-off, a series name, and make them repeatedly. So whenever I go out and take pictures, not every time, but when I go specifically to do photography because I'm walking, when I go out, I either go and I sit in a location and I sit and I watch wildlife. Or I go out and I walk around and I check out especially the first time I go or something like that, and I walk around. When I'm walking around, that's much more interesting and I can do stuff. So I'll put a GoPro on the backpack and record that. And it's a come along video because you can come along. That was one of the ideas that I came up with a couple months ago, and finally I put into practice doing this stuff. And another one was the ability to record wildlife digitally on days when I don't go out and things like that, and make that a regular series. So both of those have started, probably coming out on Patreon, which means if they have, then it'll be out by the time this stuff happens. I've been opening a lot of Magic cards. That's been fun, both on camera and off camera. I enjoy that. I need a different setup. I talked about it in the last time I opened the cards, which definitely will, because there's a backlog for that stuff, won't have come out by now. But basically, the recording stuff over there is not the most ideal for that. Cards are small. I need telephoto lens for that, but the one that fits that camera would be expensive and the whole thing, and I would basically just need it for that. So maybe one day, but at this point, I don't have any future plans to open more cards right now. Maybe the next release. There was just one that came out this past month in September, so we're into October now. It is October the 2nd. Cool. Let's see. I am starting something new today. Today will mark 2 new things, and that'll be what takes us out of this video, the last thing, so I don't need the phone and the notes. We have been doing, I've talked about a little bit, a kind of goal check-in reward point system for doing responsibilities and chores and things like that, because if I forget, there's a whole thing. I've talked about that before, and then your rewards are opening Magic cards for me, most of them, or if I want to buy a new comic or something along those lines. But anyway, one of the things I want to start doing on a regular basis is more photography, practicing the photography and taking the pictures and things like that. Hence, this camera. I don't know why I said hence there. I already have it. I pulled it out and I grabbed some memory cards so I could do that. But the point is, just throughout the week, twice a week, take some time and just go, okay, pause everything else, identify a subject, an object, something. It could be a pair of binoculars, whatever it is. Anything that catches my eye, take the camera and photograph it. And do it from 2 different perspectives. Show 2 different sides of it. And not just like front, back, but like in different lights or something. Just a way to practice and be using the camera more. And so I thought, that would be a good thing, and I can put that on there. I'll be reminded on the chore chart. I'll see it, and it will remind me to do that. It will just the feel of having a camera in my hand and the clicking, and it's a good thing. So I'm starting that. That's definitely going to be something that I want to do. That'll probably just be for me. That's just a personal thing. I'm not going to be sharing those probably. I don't think, unless just one of them really speaks to me, and like I really want to do this thing. It's just a fun little project. It shouldn't take that much time. It should be something that I just casually get into the habit of like, ooh, I like the way this looks. This has caught my eye. Now capture it with the camera and try to do that and practice more with the camera. Something I probably should have been doing for years now, but just doing that, and not just specifically when I go outside is when I use camera. Camera should be used all times, not just outside time. Inside time too. So inside camera too. And then the other thing that we're doing, um, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to do that shortly. I was waiting for things to open up and finish all of my editing stuff. So I am going to work out and shower and shave, and then I'm going to go outside. And I'm going to go to a bonsai place. A place that sells bonsai trees, I assume. Looking at the photos and talking and looking at the reviews, I think that's what it is. I want to get a bonsai tree. I really like bonsai trees. I think they're really cool and neat. I think I'd like to do one myself, and so they should maybe have starter kits. I don't know. I have a coworker who has told me all about it and volunteers at a nursery. I think is what you would. I think that's the right term for it. I think I said that the other day and I've forgotten. Anyway, the entire point is because work will reimburse me if it's one of my dreams. There's that whole program, and I'm still able to do this stuff. So there's a certain dollar amount that I can spend on something like this, and it is definitely a dream that I've had for a long time, and I would like a plant of some kind. I have to figure out what can survive in the environment that I'm in and with the sunlight that is available on the porch and things like that. But I'm really excited. I want to go find out, and this is going to be kind of a learning experience. I tried yesterday. It would have been easier so then I don't have to leave the house today and do it 2 days in a row. We had some errands to run yesterday and had to go out. Actually made it to a thrift store. I've been trying to do this since we moved. When we moved, one of the things I went, okay, I'm going to have a nice new recording space studio kind of thing set up. The videos that I'll record over there for Capitalism Ho, I want to dress up. I don't have an excuse to dress up. I'm wearing t-shirt and shorts because that's what I wear around the house all the time. There's not really an excuse. I work from home. Nobody sees, so I can just sit there in a t-shirt and shorts all the time. I don't go out and I do anything, so my job doesn't require it. It doesn't make any sense for me to put on a button-up and a tie to go out looking for wildlife. So I don't have an excuse to dress up, but I do like dressing up. It's fun, and I like having the clothes and the option for it. It's just. I went to a thrift store and found a bunch of button-up shirts and found some ties and even a vest, which is what I've been wearing for something over there. That was fun. We got some errands running around done yesterday. That was good stuff. And tried to go to the bonsai place, but they were not open, although the website said that they were open. And I think they may have just stepped out for lunch or something. There wasn't like a be right back kind of sign. It was just all locked up. But I did call to see if maybe they would, like, when we were at the end of our errands, was like, well, we could go do this, but it is kind of getting lunchtime, so I don't know if this is going to work real well. But I called and nobody answered. And then they called back like 20 minutes later, and I didn't answer because I didn't see the phone. So I think they were actually open yesterday, but they should be open today. It's a Monday. And I want to go do that. And work will reimburse me up to a certain amount. And I looked and saw like a book because I know nothing about it. I know a very basic I know it is I maybe don't know. Is it a Japanese art form? I think it's Japanese. Bonsai? Maybe? I'm pretty sure my first introduction to it was Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. I'm pretty sure. But I always thought it was cool. They look really neat. It looks cool, and it takes so much work because they literally have to grow and you have to shape them and do that. So getting a book so I can learn about it because I know nothing about it, getting a little kit with like the wires and the trimming and all the little tools that you need and things like that. I've already set aside, that's like $50 out of a $100 budget. So I'm hoping I can go get like a sapling or a starter or something like that for under $50. If not, because I'm pretty sure that like the full grown, full bonsai, when they are bonsai'd, I don't know the terminology. I don't know if that's a verb. Once they are to that form, the time and effort and years that it's taken to get that to that point, people want money for that, obviously. It's a lot of work, so they cost a lot more money. I don't know what kind of tree grows with very little sunlight because there's just not a whole lot. I don't know anything about it. So it's very much I'm going to walk in and go, please teach me because I know nothing. And then I can read about the rest of the stuff from the book and hopefully I'm very excited to get started on this. It's something that I've wanted to do for many, many years. And then just out of nowhere, we were just like for our work chat, it was, the personal side of it where people can just share whatever. And the coworker shares all these bonsai trees. And I went, that's amazing. That's something I've always wanted to do, and that's really cool. You have multiple. You've been doing this for years now, and like volunteer. They have at the place that she volunteers. They have like every Saturday or however often, and once a month. I don't know what it is, but like they have a day where you come and pay a certain amount, and you take like a class essentially to get you started, so they can go over the basics and they instruct you and they teach you those kind of things. I don't know if this place has anything like that. That would be a good thing for me to do. But we'll find out. And that's my plan for today. Yeah. I did my editing for the first round of editing. The second round of editing should be pretty drag and drop. That's kind of how these videos go. That's why I don't put that much effort into this kind of stuff. Just throw on the audio and thing, sync it up, let it go. It's a talking vlog. That's what they're for. And it doesn't at all put a lot of pressure on me to try to do everything right in one take because I'm not going to cut in and out. I'm going to have to remember to put those pizza pictures on there because I might forget that. I'm making myself a note right now. But that's what I wanted to do today. I wanted to do a better job here. I think this is significantly better than anything I got across in the previous video. So I'll have to remember that for next time to make sure that I'm doing it right. Because pizza photo in personal vlog. Because otherwise I will miss it. I'll miss it because I don't sit down and listen to an hour and a half of me rambling while I attempt to fix a mouse. And so anything I say in there, unless I make a note of it, I definitely won't remember. But the other things that I was going to do today are play a bunch of Starfield. Oh, it's Dark Souls Day. I gotta make. If I will drop off on that entirely if I don't continue making progress. And I think once I get through the game, it will be a good subject to do a capitalism hoe on. So I'm not talking about it too much, but I have been trying to work my way through one of the Dark Souls games. And this has over an hour left, so I think I'm just gonna leave it. Oh, I'm gonna make gumbo. I may have mentioned that there. I'm ready for a gumbo. I had a gumbo 2 months ago. I make gumbo. It's fun. It's a good time. And that's going to be it. Because that's everything I have to talk about right now. I'm going to go work out and shower and shave and go buy a bonsai. Hopefully. Or I'm going to go learn and they're going to go, you have no idea what you're talking about and you have a very serious underestimation of how much a sapling bonsai tree costs. How much money. All the money, and I'd only be able to doing it because work will reimburse me up to a certain dollar amount. Here's hoping the bonsai place has what I'm looking for, which is what my coworker told me about, is that their place that they volunteer at, they have like starter ones for $10 or $20. I'd love to get 2. That would be cool. I've never had a plant before. I've always wanted a plant. Never got a plant. I'd like to get a plant. I'd like to grow something. And without a house and a yard, we're limited to what I can grow in a potted plant. Oh, I did. I did last year. What am I talking about? We bought plants in Wyoming. That was 2 years ago. Couldn't do anything in Fraser. But 2 years ago in Wyoming, we had a back garden area in a patio, and we went out and got potted plants, and we planted the flowers that died almost immediately, and then some of them came back, and I remembered to water them. Watering the plant will be a chore chart thing. I'll put that on there so I remember. Because otherwise I might forget. And I don't fill up the birdseed every single day. I only do that every week. Because it lasts throughout the week. And although it maybe doesn't fully last the entire time. I hope I've been in focus this whole time. It kind of looks soft on the little window there. Here's hoping. I'm pretty sure I set it back to autofocus. Anyway, that's going to be it. This has been recording for I don't know how long because it's not showing me a recording time on this, but I've used almost 50% of the battery, so there's something. I'm guessing it's been at least a half an hour because I'm pretty sure it was 10:15 the last time I looked at the clock. There is a better personal vlog that went over most of the same things, but that's what I've been up to lately when I'm not going out. It has been an awful lot of work. I have recorded a ton. 7 of those, 12 of those. And then when I've gone out, I usually make 2 to 3 videos out of that. So it's probably like in September. I did not count up the number of videos that I produced in September. I should do that because it was quite a bit. Once we got settled in from August and September, I just hit it hard with every weekend. I know last week especially, I should probably not try to push anything and record. And then I got up and went, let's record, and threw on the button up and the vest and the whole thing and sat down. I had all the stuff worked out and recorded like 6 or 7 videos. So yeah, it's been busy. I've been keeping myself busy for sure. It's spending more time doing that than I have been playing Starfield, and I really like Starfield, so I'd like to go play Starfield later today after Bonsai. Cool. Done. Bonsai. Okay, well, I haven't transferred any of the footage, so I guess I can just continue doing this here. Kind of a mixed bag at the bonsai place. it's a drive. It's a good bit outside of Denver, so it's a decent drive out to this place. And then the guy, there was just one person, a little shop, little thing like that, wasn't friendly but not talkative. And I started out by, he said hello. I said hello, and I started looking around. He goes, let me know if you have any questions. After a few minutes, I think I'd interrupted his lunch. And I did, and I went, well, where I live in an apartment, I'm now like, great, now I can start a conversation. Now I can find out the information I need to know. And we don't really get a lot of direct sunlight, for the porch in the apartment. And he's like, they're gonna wilt and die, basically. And I went, well, crap. I went, that's not good, or something like that. And then I keep looking around or something like that, and I don't remember what happens next. I don't remember if he asks me if I'm going to buy one, or if I think he comes back, I guess, to reassure, when he realizes a few minutes later it's just very sparsed out. I mean, it was like a half an hour and maybe 20 words between us the entire time. He said, if you water them enough, it should be fine. And I'm going, I think he's just trying to make a sale at this point. But that's fine, because I am looking to buy something. And I do there is direct sunlight. It's not a lot, but I found it yesterday. I legitimately stopped and went, ooh, there's direct sunlight. It's up here. I can move the plant to get that sunlight every day during that hour where it'll peek in. Good enough. So that's happened. I also can just, if it's a real problem, I can pick up the plant and move it off the porch entirely. So there is an option, right? It's not ideal to have to do that, but I can. And boy, was I wrong. I said that the fully grown ones would be a couple hundred. I should have said a couple thousand. I think $3,000 was the most I saw for one. And yeah, it's a big one, but $3,000. Oof. I am not surprised. I look, they take a lot of work and effort, and that's probably years to get to that point. I don't know how long it takes to grow one full size. That would be a question I was going to ask, but I wasn't talkative with that stuff. So I don't know. There is another bonsai place I could go to at some point, but it's very far. They're kind of very opposite directions. It would be a good bit. But I'm not really done. I did get something. I like it. I like the look of it and everything. The cheapest that they had for something that I wanted to start out with was $40. And I went, okay, that's not, that's still doable within the budget that I set. I like that. It's called a Scheffler? Schefflera? It definitely started with an S, an SCH. And I feel like maybe there were some F's in there, and an L. I've got most of the letters. I think I can look it up when I get home and try to learn, because I'm definitely going to buy a book. I'm going to buy the whole thing, but I'm not quite done, because I decided, well, if I'm going to get one plant, and the only thing I know, I looked up, because for years now I've gone, I really want to get a bonsai tree, but just don't have the space, can't put it outside, don't have that stuff in apartments, no sunlight. But I looked up something, because when I started talking with my coworker, she said there are ones that will grow indoors, and I went, oh, there's got to be some that don't require sunlight. As long as they get the water that they need, it should be fine. And I think the one thing I looked up was, I said ficus. And now, I don't know what a ficus is. I don't know what a ficus looks like. I saw the word ficus in the bonsai place, but everything I saw was multiple hundreds or thousands of dollars for anything that said the word ficus, and I don't know enough about it. But I might be able to find a ficus somewhere else. So I'm at Home Depot. I'm just going to go walk through. I'm out. I put on clothes that are not just, my laying around the house clothes. I expected to come out and spend some time doing this, so I'm going to go walk through the garden section at a Home Depot and see if there are any other plants. And maybe I need a shelf to put this on, and maybe a watering can. I have a watering can, but it's massive. I'd like a small one with a little bitty spout. And then I'll look up all the care and need things with that book. I will buy a book as soon as I get home and start reading about what it's going to take to keep this thing alive, because I would like to do that. And I think it'll look cool. In my head, there's two kinds. I'm pretty sure you can bonsai just about anything, because it's just an art form, from my understanding, and I haven't done any research on it yet. My understanding is just an art form of a certain way to grow a plant. So as long as you can get a plant to grow, then you start shaping it, and you use the wire, and you trim it in certain ways to get it to grow into a particular aesthetic. I think that's true. So in theory, whatever saplings, I could just, as long as I can get them to grow, I can bonsai them, I guess. I still don't know if that's a verb. But if that's the case, then I want to look it up and see. And I'm interested, of course, something that sounds cool is like a cherry maple. That just sounds cool. I have no idea what it looks like. In my head, cherry makes me think like cherry blossoms, but I don't think that's the same thing. Again, done no research on this. But something like that would be cool. And in my head, the classic image of a bonsai, right, is a thicker trunk that goes up, and then it's just kind of a collection. There are some that like spread out with their branches in different ways, and I saw a lot of things there. I would have taken pictures and video, but I got not a good vibe from this guy pretty much the whole time, and I didn't think that was going to be cool. Otherwise, I would have been like, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one, and done a whole thing. But no, and I wonder if more than one person works there and the other person had their day off, because the reason I drove out of the way to go to this one was because I saw reviews that were like, I knew nothing going into this, and they were so nice, and they helped me, and they explained everything and taught me all this stuff, and I learned and everything. And like, that was very much the opposite of my experience, unfortunately. But I don't know, maybe I don't look the part of going to be a bonsai man. I don't know. I'm gonna go to Home Depot and go look and see if I can find any other plants. I know that there is a plant, the one that I know, and I don't know what kind it is, but I do know that there was a plant that my sister got in college, and then you could like, I think she split a branch of it. It's bigger leaves and just vines almost, and it's maybe classified as a weed, quite honestly, because it just grows. There's no killing it. Like, I suppose you might be able to, but I even, like, my brother had one, the job that we both worked at together, he had a plant, and it was by a window, but not in direct sunlight. It was completely indoors. There are indoor plants, and I guess that's one of them, because although it did grow towards the window to try to get as much sunlight as it could, it grew and was very resilient, until he went on vacation for 2 weeks, and I forgot to water it. And I realized the last day before he came back, and I went and it was all yellow, and I went, oh no, what have I done? And so I drew a picture of a perfectly, I poorly childlike drawing with Sharpie, drew a little green plant with vines and leaves, and wrote everything is fine, nothing is wrong, and taped it to the shelf above the plant so it would hang there. And then I watered it and apologized profusely. I'm pretty sure it bounced back, because I think those things are extremely resilient. That's what I need. I need something that is very resilient, so it doesn't depress me if I am not as good at this as I think I might be. I'm gonna go wander around and see what I can find. Well, now I'm plugged in, so I can't move it as far. That was like an hour? Not quite. Almost an hour? It's not like they had a whole lot, but I wound up just standing inside the Home Depot and on my phone. Looking in the garden center, going back and forth, going, what about this? What about this? Can I make a bonsai out of this? Can I do this? The answer is pretty much no. I found a forum that was full of people that went, this is why I tell all the beginners that there is absolutely nothing you can get at Home Depot and turn into a bonsai. You have to go to specific places and get the saplings, everything they have there. I don't know if that's just being elitist or if that's accurate. Couldn't tell you. I have no idea. But I did get a couple of just houseplants. Can I adjust this? I've turned it down. Put it back to, yeah. I got something. I got one that was a ficus, and one that was just another, like, indoor, doesn't need a whole lot of sunlight. So that's exciting. It's something. And I don't have a place to put them just yet, but that'll be my next project, will be to make or get or some kind of shelf thing to get them elevated off the ground. But they will look nice, and that was a fun adventure for today. And I'm very hungry because now I haven't had lunch, and I gotta start that gumbo. It's almost 3 o'clock, and gumbo takes a while. So I'm gonna go home and do that. Anyway, this has been Adventures in Planting. I don't think it was quite enough to make a video all to its own, but it can be stuck into the end of the personal one. And of course, the last question that I'm sure you're asking, Michael, weren't you always talking about how you never have any money? How are you going and buying plants? Well, I think I mentioned the ISO one. The bonsai, work is paying for, which is nice. These two were on sale, and I managed to get 2 plants and some potting soil and a pot that was on discount, and hence why I was in there for a long time wandering around. And then I found it and went, ooh, a whole big pot for $9. But to answer the question, the money came from the same place as when I went to thrift store yesterday and bought a bunch of button-ups and ties. Shut up. I don't have to explain myself to you. Sometimes I spend in advance when I see it's a 5-paycheck month. Sometimes that 5-paycheck month is in November. Hush. So then to finish it out, besides the financial concerns, which are not that much of a concern, I have a savings account. I'm not going to dip back into debt, or further into debt, and I'm not trying to say I'm out in any shape, but we aren't adding any more, and we didn't add any more this weekend. But what is the plan? These plants, one will be bonsai, the others will just be plants. I don't think I'm going to attempt to start trimming or anything like that. I will just feed and water and hopefully keep them alive. And then I will research, I will read the book, I will buy the book, I will read the book, I will learn, and then I will make decisions on what to continue bonsai-ing at another point in time. And now I'm going to stop recording everything because, as I said, I have things to do, including make a gumbo. And that will be the end of today for sure, because now I'm going to go plug the phone in and start transferring footage. And that means I won't be recording on it anymore, even though I keep ending the recording and walking away going, yeah, okay. One more thing.